You should be moving up right now. You should be taking space. Okay, this ultimate, I'm not a huge fan of. And the reason I'm not a huge fan of it is because their team can literally just backpedal, and it looks like they are doing that right now, and play these stairs, and then your ultimate's basically useless. Your Reinhardt won't get any value from it because he has to push past it. Your whole enemy team has to wrap around this way, and maybe they can shoot faster, but the enemy team has natural cover. They can literally, like, come into a corner here and crouch, and your ult, it's not useful at all. Right? So I would have liked to see you coming more aggressive towards this left side and popping it where they can't escape from. So if you threw it down this lane instead, you pop around these boxes here and you throw it down this lane, the enemy team can't hide on these stairs because even though like they can play here in a decent spot, your team pushing up will still have the effects from the Kitsune Rush, the faster attack speed and all that jazz. And you would be able to be more aggressive, and the enemy team doesn't really have anywhere to go. They could backpedal like all the way to this door or whatever, but that doesn't really help. And because the enemy team was playing right here, this gives your team more space to push. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Overwatch VOD review. Today we are reviewing Berg, who is a Grandmaster Kiriko main. And we have previously reviewed him on the channel, but he's feeling a little rusty, like an old Bastion. Honestly, not much you could do there. Your monkey just jumped in. You definitely don't want to overexpose yourself, so I'm totally fine with you letting him die there and not overthinking. Okay. So one thing that I think you could do here, let me go ahead and pause it. So you have an Alari, which means you do have more ability to go aggressive. So, like, I came into this VOD thinking you were going to play too aggressive, but you did a really good job of playing safe and stuff, except that that's kind of your Alari's job. She has a pylon when she didn't move, and then she needs to, like, be playing more with your team a little bit. And because, like, mostly because of the pylon, she automatically is healing your team. That gives you more leeway to go aggressive. So when this Zenyatta, we can go ahead and back up. So right about here, you're doing a good job playing back, healing your team. So once you get your Reinhardt up right here, and you peek out over towards this left side, you'll see the Zenyatta on the left, or sorry, the right. You should be going to see if you can get that kill. You have the Kitsune Rush, your team isn't in dire need of heals right now. Until this happens, you should be going to get that kill. So right here, when you're aware of this Zenyatta, before your whole team runs in over here, you need to go and be the aggressor here because he's taking the aggressive flank. And so you guys are playing super, super passive, your whole team, and you're giving them the freedom to play where they want. So all of y'all are grouped up, but the Zenyatta is over here, and he's like peeking this way and flanking. You can totally run over here and put pressure on him. Maybe you win the fight, maybe you don't, but the nice thing about Kiriko is that you can always teleport out. And so whenever your team walks out here, what you should be doing is playing to see if you can kill this Zenyatta on the right, and then whenever they flux and you know your team needs help, you just teleport over and do exactly what you just did here. Because at this point, now the Zenyatta and the Sigma are on either side of this Bastion, and until the Zenyatta decides he wants to throw in his ult, the Bastion dies here, and I guess he still even dies. So basically, if you had forced that Zenyatta out, maybe even killed him, or like just forced him closer to his team where he didn't have as much freedom, you could have won that fight. See, this is good. This is the kind of good flank I'm talking about. You have an Alari, which she also likes to do kind of stuff like this, but since you have both of y'all, and you both heal a lot anyway, you have the freedom to literally just go and get that kill and teleport back. So that's good. It's unfortunate that your team died while you're doing that, but I think you made the right play there. One thing you want to look at whenever you're flanking is how much pressure you're applying. Like, are you only making one person fight you, or are you getting someone else to fall back and draw attention, you know? If you get a kill and get out, that's your value, but you can also just get value by pulling more of them back and giving your team a 4v3. So, that's something to keep in mind. See, now you're super, super passive. Not really doing a whole lot. Team's got some good kills. Now you have to heal. I would have liked if there you went a little bit more aggressive and weren't like the farthest back of all of your teammates. Because again, when you hear Sigma Flux or whatever, or your teammates like call for help, you can always teleport behind them. Technically, the correct Kiriko playstyle is to play really passive and just heal. That's how they play it in the Overwatch League. But in ranked, another like really viable option is the really aggro style. ML7 likes to play really aggressive. So, kind of watching his gameplay is kind of, in my opinion, the more fun way of playing and the way that suits your playstyle best, in my opinion. Because you're, at the moment, not providing much value to your team other than, like, just healing, right? So you are playing healer at the moment, not getting much damage in, and just kind of keeping your team alive, which is always nice to keep your team alive. But because it's ranked, you should never be afraid of trying to be an impact player and really make something happen. Don't let your team die for it, but there's a lot of situations in which you could get a little bit aggressive, and it wouldn't be a big deal. Right here, your Reinhardt's really in there. He's definitely going to die. I think it would be better, because the Illari is in the backline, but your team definitely kills it. I think at that situation, let's go back real quick. I think it would be good to, right here, whenever you teleport up into the air and look over here, you can see that your Reinhardt's super far in. He really needs help, and you have the ability to help him. So you might have been able to save him there if you TP'd in, and then your Illari and Bastion would have still killed the Illari in the back. So that is something to think about, is your tank is really, really important. If your tank dies, it sucks for your whole team. So prioritizing them over trying to kill the Illari in the back, that would be ideal. But it worked out. It was fine, because you guys got more kills. So it wasn't like the wrong call, I would say, but you know, you just always want to be thinking, how could I be keeping other people alive over getting kills? You want to go for kills, but if you have to pick, you pick to keep a team alive rather than go for a kill. Right here, I'd really like if you took an off angle, because your team doesn't really need you to play right here and play for these heals while the enemy team is pushing. I'd like for you to like go around the right and see if you can get some pop shots off. Build towards your ultimate a little bit. Maybe if you're lucky and clean, you could get a kill. At this point, you and your whole team have just allowed their team to take as much space as they want. It's always nice to see if you can apply pressure and, yeah, save that guy if possible. See, like this, playing right here, it's a little late because your whole team is dead. But, like, that going on that off angle and looking for those picks, applying that pressure, drawing enemy attention, that would have been a lot, like, really helpful if you did that earlier. You're spending a lot of time this fight playing really passive. Playing behind everyone. Which, don't get me wrong, that's technically the objectively correct way to play Kiriko. But, like I alluded to earlier, this is like the Overwatch League of playing Kiriko, of playing back, getting a few pop shots, but mostly just healing your team. And this is what you want to do a lot of the time, except that you have another support that heals quite a lot with Illari. And so you need to see if you can try to be an impact player. Because Illari and Kiriko, honestly, they kind of do a lot of the same thing of having the ability to be aggressive. Nothing you can do against that run. But both of them have the ability to be aggressive, but really excel at like playing more passive behind your team most of the time. But when you have both of them like this, and your Illari is playing back behind and not very aggressive, then you need to be able to have that freedom to go aggressive and get the shots on the sides. Even though it's technically not the right way of play, you're playing Kiri Illari, which gives you the freedom to do so. It's not a throw, is what I'm saying. In a fight like that, you're kind of not important, I guess you would say. Like, you're not making anything happen. The enemy team doesn't really feel your presence very much. And so you end up, like, not having control over the fight. And at some point in the fight, you won't have control anyway, once your teammates are dying and stuff. But you want to see if early in the fight you can get that potential impact of either getting a kill, drawing enemy fire so that your team can get a kill. Any of that before you actually, like, engage fully in the fight. Okay, so now that you're on the attack, I'd really like to see some aggressive off angles. And also, you didn't break the TVs. How do you expect to win when you don't break the TVs, dude? So anyway, I'd like to see you get aggressive and see if you can get those early kills. The other way, other than the slow pacing play behind your team play style, the aggressive play style, how you want to play is you want to take off angles and you want to push up from flanks or just straight up push into the enemy team, and you need to have an anchor. So usually that would be your tank or your other support. Is need to have someone that you're aware of where they are on the battlefield and when you can teleport back to them whenever you need to. So whenever you're not playing totally safe, you need to be able to have a one person that you've decided you're going to try to teleport over to that can help you in the case that you get pressured out. But given that, because you have that option as Kiriko to literally teleport away from the battlefield, you want to go aggressive and you want to give yourself opportunities to do that. It's different if you're playing with like a Lucio, someone who also kind of wants to like be aggressive and your team will need more heals. But in this situation, you have a healing pylon. You don't need more heals for your team. So if you went like over here on the bridge, or you just like climbed up the rafter and started flinging pop shots up at like Baptiste or something, could like really make or break the team fight. Here you should look for an early Kitsune, teleport in with your Ryan and pop it. Like, give your team that space. This works too, throwing it right here. Lets your team go really aggressive. That Ryan should die. Yeah. That's a free fight. That's kind of Kiri's best thing, honestly. Suzu's great, but her ultimate is crazy. If your team plays it well and you put it in a good spot at a good time, you win the fight. And that's the merit of playing slower, the way that you are right now. So, no hate here. What is he doing? Okay, at this point you're down one, and you're trying to help your Ryan. I have no problems with this, but here you should probably play more left where you can see that Ryan better. And I know you didn't know that your Ryan was gonna like end up over here, but at this point, so okay, your Ryan gets pushed up top, and you decide that you're gonna teleport back to your team. But over here on the left, no one can kill you. None of those 4 people can kill you if you're playing this way. And this way gives you a better line of sight to help your Reinhardt. And again, because you're Kiri, you can always teleport back towards your Alari or whatever after you get pressured out. So like if the Junk or the Baptiste came around this right side and pressured you out. So you should be playing in this area over here because the enemies can't see you and it gives you a better avenue to help your Reinhardt. But then by backing away, your Reinhardt is kind of screwed. He tries to get out, but he hits that wall with his pin. And then you can't do anything to help him. You couldn't see him with your heals because you were playing too far back with the rest of your team. You should be moving up right now. You should be taking space. Okay, this ultimate I'm not a huge fan of. And the reason I'm not a huge fan of it is because their team can literally just backpedal, and it looks like they are doing that right now, and play these stairs, and then your ultimate's basically useless. Your Reinhardt won't get any value from it because he has to push past it. Your whole enemy team has to wrap around this way, and maybe they can shoot faster, but the enemy team has natural cover. They can literally, like, come into a corner here and crouch, and your ult, it's not useful at all. Right? So I would have liked to see you coming more aggressive towards this left side and popping it where they can't escape from. So if you threw it down this lane instead, you pop around these boxes here and you throw it down this lane, the enemy team can't hide on these stairs because even though like they can play here in a decent spot, your team pushing up will still have the effects from the Kitsune Rush, the faster attack speed and all that jazz. And you would be able to be more aggressive, and the enemy team doesn't really have anywhere to go. They could backpedal like all the way to this door or whatever, but that doesn't really help. And because the enemy team was playing right here, this gives your team more space to push. You guys managed to kill Ryan, which is great. And then, okay, you know, I like how I said everything, and I was really thinking, oh, the enemy team is literally just going to hide and wait. But then they decided, no, let's all play in the open. So I guess forget everything I just said, because the enemy team threw that fight. They should have played around the natural cover more and made your Kitsune Rush basically use. I mean, you can even see it now. At this point, there's no reason not to push up. But the enemy team, let's watch it from a bird's eye view. They fed. You threw this ult. They should have all ran really far. But I guess your Lari ulted. Yeah. Your ultimate was not very important for that fight. Not as important as it should have been. I guess you could probably see what I'm saying there. So I'm totally fine with the way that you play this fight, playing with your team in this situation, trying to get in the heals, and you're building your ult really well. At this point, other than your ultimate, you might want to try going up top and forcing that Junkrat down. Now you have your ultimate, so you probably want to get a really big value from the top. I'm glad your Ryan's coming up here, giving you all this space. Well, I think this is a good ultimate. I think your Reinhardt dropped your shield and you... Oh my goodness. Yeah, you went from, like, decent health to dead instantly because your Ryan dropped shield. I mean, what can you do there? Nothing. That would have been a great ultimate. I think the only thing you can do in that situation, that wasn't your fault, really, but, like, communicate to your Ryan and be like, hey, can you keep your shield up while I throw this ultimate down, and then you can back out and play more heals. Of course, that was not your fault, and if I was VOD reviewing the Reinhardt, I would be yelling at him, but I'm gonna, since it's your VOD, might as well ask him. Alright, so you're playing the theoretically correct Kiriko right now, which, honestly, I really don't have complaints for the way you're playing, other than it's not working, right? So the enemy team is diffing y'all at the moment. They're able to get these kills and win the fights, which means you want to try to go aggressive. Maybe push through the stairs on the left or the right, and just, like, take a weird flank, make their supports look at you, and teleport back to your Ryan if you need to, saving Suzu. But since your team, like, you're not winning these fights. Right here, you should be ulting already. Before that tire went out, you should have had your ult down. That was too late. I'm going to show you why, like, that was a good ult spot. Okay, so about right here, this is a good ult. And the reason that this is a good ult running down this lane is because it forces the enemy team to, like, split up, basically. If you throw your ultimate, it goes over cart and comes this way, then where your team can run through will force these enemies back, but give you guys the space to fight these people. So in that situation, your Reinhardt would run up. Maybe your Reinhardt would swing on these guys and ignore these people. Or he would just swing on the Reinhardt. But this would give your team freedom if your Ryan was doing his job to kill this Junkrat and then probably this Ryan, because it would force the enemy team to, like, break their good formation that they have here. Where the supports are playing really safe, Bastion is playing in an aggressive enough spot to get some damage in, but then the Junk and Ryan are really far up here, and your ultimate would split this down the middle and make this spot where Junk and Ryan are significantly worse. Okay, you should probably just ult, like, you should have ulted already. Oh, now both your DPS are dead. So, it's overtime, right? Or it's about to be. This is the last fight. There's no reason for you to be holding this ultimate. So, at this point, you go, okay, we're pushing the cart, right? Their team has to fight you. They have to fight you on this middle lane. They cannot step off cart once it gets as close as it is without losing the game, right? Or at least, like, losing this round. So this should be where you pop your ultimate. The Junkrat, or not the Junkrat, the Bastion ulting is a signal that their team is pushing, okay? They ult, and you need to go, oh, okay, there's about to be a lot of damage in here. Their enemy team is going to push. This ult needs to go down now so that when they push in, our team has the advantage to fight this and, like, bully them off cart and lets you out-heal some of this damage that'll come through from these other ultimates. But because you wait, this Bastion, if you had already ulted and you were flinging petals at that Bastion while he was being shot, he would have lived. And your team could have potentially bullied them off cart. But, see, they had to fight y'all. They had to step onto the cart to fight you so that it didn't get to the end. But it was a free fight because y'all didn't give them that initial fight. So, overall, I will say, I think you're still quite good at Kiri. You say you're rusty. I think, honestly, probably your negative win rate on Kiri just comes from Kiri not being very good right now, because most of these fights are actually very, very good. I actually think you're playing Kiri very, very well and the way that Kiri should be played. If you do want to try to force her in ranked, I think you need to be more aggressive and look for those outside frags, especially when you have another support that heals quite a lot, like a Lari. But other than that, my only recommendation, yeah, play aggressive. You're playing Kiri quite well. And if you're losing a lot on Kiri, I would say that's mostly just because the tides of Overwatch 2 has changed, and Kiri is just, in general, not very good at the moment. But I think if you were, like, playing on a team, you'd be playing this perfectly. Except for otherwise, like, this ultimate. It was really late. But, yeah, so good luck on Kiri. I think if you keep playing her, you'll probably have decent success. Not much else to say.